What's up, y'all? This is episode 8 of the Government Coins podcast. I'm so excited to be here with y'all today, and we have a real treat. We have a real treat today, bringing in someone from the Department of Homeland Security. As you know, that is one of the top 5 spending agencies, and we're gonna get into that a little bit more today. But in the meantime, if this is your first time tuning into our podcast, my name is Shakia Kegler. I'm one of the hosts of Government Coins. I'm also the founder and CEO of GovLA.
Hey everyone, my name is Chrisley Ganthier. I am one of the co-hosts of Government Coins. I am the founder of the Black Bunker Program, a program designed to help minority-owned businesses understand the intricacies of government contracting. Also, a human capital firm known as Chrisley G Consulting.
Hey guys, I am Hamza Sabri, one of the other co-hosts of the #1 government contracting podcast, Government Coins. And also I'm the CEO and founder of Global Connect's world-class government contracting consulting firm, where we engage small businesses with government agencies to get to the money. Let's go.
And for our guest today, we have the Miss Darlene.
I'm delighted. Hey, look, this is live TV, y'all, so you know how that goes. So we're live. I'm used to it. It's not a problem. Regroup. I look the same. We all look great, right?
Yeah, that's it. Well, we have Miss Darlene Bullock from the Department of Homeland Security.
Yes, that's the department.
Darlene, would you mind introducing yourself? And we're laughing right now, y'all, because I've been saying the Department of Transportation all day.
All day.
Darlene, would you mind telling?
I will. I am happy to be here today with the three of you. It's I'll say an honor that you invited me, and I know there's some other guests you have. Some of my colleagues, and I didn't get to watch their podcast because I know mine will be better than theirs. But I know they gave a lot of information. We joke about all the time about healthy competition between our different agencies, but I'm glad that they were able to come on and support you all. That was great. So I'll say a little bit about me. So who am I? What is Department of Homeland Security? What does all this mean, right? So my name is Darlene Bullock. So I am the executive director of the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. That's a long term, right? But the acronym is called OSDBU. And then what I always tell people, I'm the director of the Small Business Office. So it's just easier to say it that way, right? So, so people can kind of understand what that means. So what does that really mean? It means that I manage the small business program for the entire Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security is one of the 5th largest spenders in the federal government. We spend a lot of money and we do a lot of different things. And I can get into, some of the things that we do. But me, who I am a native Washingtonian. Not too many of native Washingtonians that you see that still live in Washington, D.C. I have a lot of friends who are still here. I was born in Southeast Washington, D.C. So I am a product of that environment, and hopefully a proud, someone that environment can be proud of. Someone needs to go on, maybe mute. So from DC, my family's all here. Like you, Chrisley, we were talking about it earlier, I have a daughter about to go to college, which I can't believe. She goes to school in Washington, D.C. We're trying to, now figure out what school. But, I have, humble upbringings. I have 7 brothers and sisters. I'm one of 8 kids. My father worked 3 or 4 jobs to, as a small business person, his own as an entrepreneur to do what he had to do for his family, as well as working in a DC correctional facility, a jail, right? My mom was a homemaker and she was a federal employee for some time until, she was like, I'm going to go home and take care of my 3 smallest kids, which were me and my 2 younger brothers. I have a brother that's Omega Psi Phi. I have another brother that's a Capitol Hill police officer. So it's just a bunch of us. I have 2 sisters that went to GW. Not Georgetown Christie, but they both went to GW, my 2 older sisters. I'm a graduate of the University of Maryland, College Park. I'll forever be a Terp. right? So just a little bit about who I am. And now I was telling a little bit about Full Circle. So the building that I work in, I'm from Washington, D.C., Southeast Washington, D.C. And imagine, we look at D.C. now and gentrification and how things are. Just imagine, I'm 53 years old. So imagine, 54. Yeah, I had a birthday in January. Sorry, forgot how old I was. So just imagine, Southeast DC in the area that I used to live in so long ago. And so, not one of the best places, but, I never knew that, because my parents didn't make it seem that it was a bad place, or they didn't have, they always did what they needed to do. But just to say, to bring it kind of full circle, the building that I work in now, our physical building, even though we've been remote, is in Washington, D.C. It's in Southeast Washington, D.C., Southwest Washington, D.C. And if you never heard of the General Service Administration, it's a huge building. They have many buildings. They own all federal buildings, and they do the leasing forever. And that's another way people can try to, like construction contracts, people have to understand who does all the construction. Well, most of the time it's GSA. But this building in particular used to be a huge warehouse, and it sits at 7th and D Southwest, and it used to be a warehouse. And my mom used to work in that building. And so she worked in that building when it was a warehouse. And if you go in there now, they're remodeling it, but it used to, it looked like a warehouse because it's like plugs up here. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Bathrooms are bad. It's time to remodel. And that's part of the reason we haven't returned to work, is because of space issues, et cetera. So my mom used to work in that building, I guess back in the 50s, something like that. And so she would tell stories of where, some of the buildings weren't there, and there used to be a park across the street. And she said they could not eat in the cafeteria. They had to go across the street to the park. And so when my mom tells that story, and then now she has her daughter who's in charge of such a huge task in that same building, for this effort across the space of Homeland Security, who spends $20 billion a year, is quite epic. And so I am very humbled by that. My mom walking those halls of that building, doing what she did in a warehouse, to now what I have to do, and at DHS, and making sure that I make her proud. We stand on the shoulders of everyone, right? I stand on the shoulders of my mom, who will be 90 years old in next month.
Oh, wow.
And so, so my father's no longer with us, but my mom will be 90. And so, I take everything I do very seriously. We joke and laugh. It's good to have fun, but it's a purpose and a reason why I do what I do, and why I try to do it the best. Because, we always got to be the best and better. We always have to be, for some reason. And so, just something that I do. And every time I walk in that building, I think about my mother and what she might have went through having to go across the street to eat at a park.
That's a full circle, like literally. I don't know. I've never heard a situation of a story like that. So that is a powerful story within itself. Right. Like just knowing about that and how that works. So, but it worked out really good because it placed you in a position to where you can be that advocate, that person for other individual business owners like ourselves. So,
exactly.
So I'm still in the story, like me in Southeast, and I've lived in Southeast. Like she said, I went to, Georgetown. So that was impactful because, and it's rare that you really are working in that same building that kind of she walked the halls and had difficulties. So kudos to you. And so now with your specific role, how did you get started? And I can see the full circle moment, and where God makes way, God places positions in your life that was planned before you were even born, right?
Right.
So, but with this role, how did you get started, in being such an advocate for small businesses in DHS?
Yeah, so I started out very young. I graduated from University of Maryland. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And back in those days, they had it's like those days, right? Like 30 years of service. They had this test. I was like 23. they had this test you would take and they would put your name on this roll, if you scored well, et cetera. And so, this thing kept coming up about contract specialist, contracting officer, to get to a contracting officer, but I didn't know anything about that. So once I graduated from college, I was working at the Department of Agriculture. I had been a summer intern there. They just loved me, and I probably could have stayed there, but I did not want to be thought of as the person who used to be our admin and graduated. I wanted to make sure I made my own path somewhere else, even though they were great people to me, created jobs for me. I had health insurance, all those things. So I started that path years ago at the Department of Army. I was an Army intern in the contract specialist program. And so I'm telling you right now, I can remember the interview I went in. This is how long ago it was. The gentleman who interviewed me, they call them PARCs. Well, they call them that in the Army. And they're the principal person responsible for contracting. And so for that unit. And so he was sitting in the office smoking a cigar or had the cigar in his mouth when I came in for the interview. So it shows you how long ago, that's just you just don't do those things now. But he was the nicest man ever. And so he hired me. So that started my path of being in contracting. And so I just kind of fell in love with the process. So I was an operational contracting officer person. So for people on the line listening, those are the individuals who make the awards. They're the ones that do the market research. They're the ones who do everything in the procurement process to award, pre-award, contract administration, et cetera. So I was one of those people for a long time, 25, 30 years. So, and I ended up being a person like that in a leadership position at Homeland Security. So my, the head of the OSDBU Small Business Office, then we've only had one. And so just so you'll know, DHS is made up of several many, I forget the number, 21 at first, offices and already agencies like Coast Guard, Treasury. So when 9/11 hit, that happened, it created Homeland Security. So Homeland Security is really a new agency. It's just those individual pieces are not new. Secret Service has been around, everything is new. So they hired a person to run the small business for this new agency. And there was a gentleman named Kevin Boshears. And Kevin Boshears was a huge figure in small business, mentor to many. You may have seen something on my page about him. So he created, unfortunately, he passed away this past December, which is, quite devastating to me and a lot of other people. But he created a lot of programs at Department of Treasury. He was the small business director, Homeland Security, and just, laid the foundation for this program that we have now. And so he said, why don't you come work for the small business office? I think you'd be great. And so that started it. We had a relationship before because we worked on certain projects for small businesses, me being the contracting person and him being the small business person, and that collaboration. And then he just saw something in me, was like, you'd be great over in our office. And so that's how it started. I was deputy for a number of years, and then I became the director once he retired. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But, to honor him and the things that he's done too, I make sure that, I follow some of the same things as he's done. But, you got to put a Darlene twist on him, it's of a different way of thinking and technology and, some of the different things that that I do. You have to do things your own way. So that's how I started in it. So, and you have to really be an advocate, a passionate. You can't be in this business and not be passionate for small businesses, because sometimes you got to say, look, you're not doing this right. Or, maybe we need to have an off meeting to talk about some things. Or you're just talking to them like, I'm just giving you some guidance, listen to it and take it. And a lot of it is about relationships, not relationships where I can make you an award. I'm not in that side of the house anymore. But it's like you said, advocacy. Advocacy is what the OSDBU does. We do a lot of things, but the main thing is being advocates and maximizing the opportunities for small businesses, socioeconomic businesses, hub zone. Like I was born in a hub zone. That whole Ward 8 is a hub zone. I believe it probably still is. Sure, it still is. I know it was a couple years. It still is a hub zone. So service disabled veterans, women, 8A companies. So, even with the current president's management agenda and Biden administration, they're stressing the use of small businesses, particularly small disadvantaged businesses, which all of you would be, you are, because of the definition of what that means, being socially and economically disadvantaged, and us as people and groups are defined as being in that presumed group, of being automatically socially and economically disadvantaged. So, that's how it kind of everything started. And so I just love it. I just like what I do. It's a great merge of the small business piece and the contracting piece, because you'll find there are not a lot, I will say, there are 24 individuals with the same job I have in across the federal space. So every federal agency that has procurement powers has a small business office. Some are larger than others, like, top 5 spender like us, all the way to, an agency that may spend a couple $100 million. We have the same duty, we just do it a little differently. And it's a different intensity when you're spending that much money. And we have high goals to make sure we meet those goals for small businesses. So, right now one of our focuses, and it's funny because the president and there's been some executive orders and OMB memos about supporting small and disadvantaged business. We've been doing that. That's the tenet of OSDBU offices, is to make sure that we do that. I think now what you see is, how also can we support owners who may not fit into those descriptions, or also may, but you're talking about rural areas, distressed areas, people's sexual orientation, just everything, equity. So, equity means a lot of things, and it's just not, where we have set aside groups and opportunities, but everybody, everything should be equitable. And that's just the tenet of small business and the Small Business Act, and why some of these programs exist that, maybe some of the people listening are aware of. There are a lot of state programs that are similar to federal programs, but, you just have to do a couple of things different. Like we hear a lot of people, minority business enterprises, that's similar to the 8A program or being a small disadvantaged business. So, that's just how I got here. I just like it. I like being in this kind of environment with people like you. I like seeing people who look like me be able to participate in contracts. People who don't look like me, who are struggling to figure out, how do I bring my product to this, I'll tell you, one of the things that we do is we do a small business award ceremony for, companies who did a great job at DHS. We had to flip from being in person to, it's a different way we do it in any event. So one of the companies responded, and he was like, he was from India. And he said he called his mom because he started crying, because he never thought that he would have such an honor in an agency like Homeland. It's just the impact to people's lives is what I take a lot from this. You're creating jobs in small businesses, you're feeding your families, you're paying taxes into the community. It impacts you. Like, I came from he said he came from a small, poor town in India, and now he's being honored by Homeland Security because of the work that he's done. And I think everybody should have that kind of ability. And so that's where, equity comes in, that we have to make sure that we do have that.
Absolutely. That's amazing, Ms. Darlene. And excuse me, I can just tell from, breaking down the history that you have from just where you started and where you're at now. You're very passionate about what you do. We have a lot of small businesses that are tuning in right now.
Okay. Yeah.
I got to ask the money question.
Okay. Let's go.
What type of products and services does DHS buy? And is there some type of list of product and services that they buy? And then also I want to know about the goals for DHS and what it pertains to contracting with certified businesses.
Yeah, let me explain a little bit about it. There's a lot of questions. Hamza. I'm gonna say how you say like your mom says Hamza?
Hamza, yeah.
Hamza. So I'll start with what is the Homeland Security buy? Almost everything. Okay. So I'll tell you what some of our top things we buy. IT, of course, right? Information technology, program management services that can range from, I don't know, it's just so much. Guard services, that's one of our top NAICS codes. So those three, particularly IT, program management, guard services, a little more, specialized in where you have to be, licenses in states, and that's different. But Homeland Security, the Federal Protective Service, is responsible for, making sure that those guard companies and, employees of FPS are in federal space. So, but IT and program management, and what you need to know if you're starting as a small business or experienced ones that are on here, you know your NAICS codes. So what are your NAICS codes? NAICS codes are your North American Industrial Classification System codes. So NAICS codes determine if your business is small or large based on what it is that you do. And you can be small or large, the same business in different NAICS codes, right? So I could be an IT company that's does a lot in IT, and but I also enlarge in that space, but I can not do that much in program management and also be a small business. So not that it gets complicated, but you have to know, what your NAICS codes are. And most businesses if you're in federal space, you have to know what they are. That's just, you don't. They're not assigned to you. These are the things that you say are your principal areas of business. So no one's assigned. Who creates them? Department of Commerce. Who takes the NAICS codes and assigns size standards? Small Business Administration. And then you say, okay, well, my line of business is XYZ. The size standard would determine if, an agency issued a set aside, if you would be small business or not. And so you can go to SBA's website and kind of find that information out. Now, how much does DHS spend? It depends. We're normally around $20 billion a year, 21. Last year, we spent $20 billion. Last fiscal year, I'll give you these stats because they're almost final. They don't come final until later in the summer. But DHS had every year, the Small Business Administration, you can go to their website, there's nothing you need to do, and put in procurement scorecard. Every agency gets a procurement scorecard, a score. How'd you do in your small business program? DHS for the past 12 years has got an A. The past 5 years, an A+, right? So how do we do that? We have different ways that we, that's done.
I just want to say, pop your stuff, Darlene. What?
Oh yeah, of course.
Go ahead.
I have to, and I'll say this: it is a point that to have this question is that the goals. So everyone knows when you see an agency's goals, you might be interested in a particular agency. They don't come out of your backside, right? They are negotiated with SBA by law. And there's a tool they use and your historical data, et cetera. So last fiscal year, our goal was 33%. I often forget, 33.5, 33. This year's 34.5. It's 30. Our accomplishment was 38%. So we knocked that out the box, right? That equated to about almost $8 billion to small businesses and prime contracts. I mean, that is it being one of the top 5. So we have goals for Hub Zone. If you're a Hub Zone business, you know what that means. Hub Zone is location based. How do I find out if I'm in a Hub Zone? You got to go to SBA's website, put in your address or your principal business location. And that will tell you if you're a Hub Zone business or not. What does that mean though, Don? I don't even know what you're talking about. Well, you got to go look for the definition. And what happens is there's Hub Zone set-asides. And you have to be Hub Zone certified to be able to compete for Hub Zone set-aside procurements, right? And those are, range from a different, all different types of different services. So we have Hub Zone goal of 3%. The DHS accomplishment was 5.5. That's like unseen. The federal government has never met the Hub Zone goal. DHS has met it the last 9-10 years. And last year was the highest percentage we've ever had. It's 5.5%.
Okay, I got a shot. You said that what agency doesn't meet their goals?
Oh, there are a lot of them that don't. There are a lot of them that do. It depends on if you go into the scorecard. If Shakia brings that up like a link, you can see every scorecard from the past 10 fiscal years. Okay. It's in different PDF charts, and you can kind of see. If you're doing your work behind the scenes, you can kind of go, you know what? I am going to target some of these agencies. I'm a hub zone. And I know they keep trying to meet their hub zone dollars. Which agencies don't really meet their hub zone dollars? And they're buying what I sell. They're not doing what you do. Then
So the agencies that are not meeting their goal all the way, what are they doing internally to have an outreach to engage with more businesses, small businesses?
Well, my counterparts do a lot of different things. They do a lot of vendor outreach activities. We have, and I don't know if Shakia can find it, but the Federal OSDBU Council, the website for outreach is ran by the Veterans Administration. So I can send you that link if you can't find it. But if you have it, you can,
grabbing them all, and
they're grabbing them now. So that gives a little bit of some of the outreach events that we do have. Some we do where we are attending association events. Hub Zone Council might have an event. They may have me come speak at it, just like I'm speaking here. The 8A Council, they have conferences. They just had one in Orlando. They're about to have one in Alaska. That's their, I think their summer conference. So you have to kind of know what you have to kind of reach out to a lot of the associations, and then you can get information about conferences they're doing, your counterparts at different agencies. You have to go to every agency's website and find out. So it's kind of difficult to say what they are doing. They do something similar to what we do. We do something called vendor outreach sessions. And Shakia might put that in. So vendor outreach sessions are where, they're virtual now. They used to be in person. And so there are appointments that small businesses can have with large business prime contractors for subcontracting opportunities and our small business specialists to talk about the requirements of each one of the components of DHS. So let me talk about components real quick. So when we say DHS, what is Homeland? People don't really know what is Homeland Security. You have United States Coast Guard, right? You have TSA, all of us fly. TSA does not operate the airports, they do the screening. So airports are operated by local governments and municipalities. We are responsible for the people in the blue shirts who do the screening and the machines, those big machines you see that do all that. You have Immigration and Customs Enforcement. People may not like the mission of ICE, but it is what it is. And so that is, following the rules of the immigration laws of this country. They have the duties and running the detention centers and just a wide range of things that they do. Go back to US Coast Guard. A lot of us like to, be on a boat in Miami, right? Or somewhere else. So when the Coast Guard comes by, you better have your stuff together, so some of that is everyday practicality of, that is Homeland, it's Coast Guard. But they do things like drug interdiction, breaking of ice barges, a lot of different things, and securing of waterways, et cetera, et cetera. Customs and Border Protection, they are we all hear about the border wall, those type of things, but they're also in charge of the economy, making sure that things aren't coming in harmful to the United States and United States economy. Sometimes, people want to buy some fake bags. I would tell y'all something. I went to CBP, Customs and Border Protection. I used to work there years ago. They have these road shows where they do, and I don't know if they've done those lately in COVID, but they'll show you like all the fake products that come into the United States. And I was just shocked that, some stuff, like bag, purses, but like condoms, I'm like, what the heck? Just, yes, fake. I said, are you kidding me? I'm just using that as an example. We know UGG boots, Levi's, they just had all these things that are just copied but those things hurt. One, fake condoms hurt health, right? Another thing, all those things hurt the economy of the United States by, buying things that aren't authentic, which people do, but, infringe on a lot of people's copyrights and, all those things. So, yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you go, oh, yeah, that does, Secret Service, they do a lot more than just guarding the president. So they also make sure that dignitaries that come to the country are safe. And they also are part of monitoring and making sure our financial system, is fine. The U.S. Mint with the coins. So it's all in Treasury, which is not part of Homeland, but Secret Service came from the Treasury Department, which is the tie-in for the money system. USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. Again, people apply to come into this country. That they would apply and deal with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. So those are just FEMA. Let me talk about FEMA. So FEMA is like, dear to my heart, FEMA. A lot of spend, Hamza, comes from FEMA. The volatility of disasters. We don't want FEMA to have much work, right?
Right.
But in the reality, they do, and it's a needed agency who, regardless of who's in office and administration, they are on top of making sure that disasters and emergencies are covered in this country.
We procure. We talk about disasters, which is not a good thing, and you want it limited, but Global Connects, we procured over 100,000 body bags for FEMA. It was about a year and a half ago years ago from that situation that happened down south in Louisiana. Texas. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're a crucial part of Homeland. And for time, I won't go into what everyone does. Cybersecurity is another piece. There are a lot of companies on here that might be, cybersecurity experts. We buy those type of services. We have a group that does classified work. So it's just you can see, I'm picking out a little bit of these things, but how broadly we buy almost everything.
And I think highlighting all of those different components of the agency, and I'm gonna just go through them real quick because I want people to remember. One thing I love that you did was you connected it back to the people. And I know when we talked before, we talked a little bit about FEMA, but how there are everyday disasters that don't make it to the news.
Don't make the news, right?
And that's why I was like, oh, that's a really good point to really be able to connect it. But you have Customs and Border Patrol. We have the federal law enforcement. Second? Oh, protection. Customs.
Go ahead.
We have the federal law enforcement training centers.
Mm-hmm.
We have immigration and customs enforcement, TSA, FEMA, Secret Service, citizenship and immigration services, and we have the Coast Guard. And then I also see you have the SBIR program too. So that's 9 agencies. 9.
Well, SBIR is it's not their own component, but their procurements are procured out of. You may see the Office of Procurement Operations Headquarters. Mm-hmm. So that office is where SBIR procurements come from, Federal Protective Service procurements come from, Cybersecurity CISA agency procurements come from out of that group. So some of the largest spenders are that group, U.S. Coast Guard, FEMA, so forth. So it's like, if you have people, a lot of people listening in, it's best to kind of, even though DHS is DHS, right? Those components are their own agencies almost. It used to be. They used to be. So you got to kind of figure out where, what the things that I do and I sell, how do I, one, get to those individuals? And what we do is the small business office is how they do that. And they also have small business specialists, and each one of those things we just talked about, each one of these components, they're small business specialists, and that's on our website. And Shakia can put that up, a list of who those individuals are. And it's like, the same thing that you may be interested in at FEMA. They don't do that at Secret Service, So they're like the body bag issue. Now, they may have some of those for emergencies if something happens, but that's not their business. FEMA's in the business. If there's a disaster, they have contractors that turn on to do certain things. And that is one of them. A lot of debris removal, when there are disasters, how do you get rid of that stuff? Right. We also, they have contracts for that. And we also pay, have contracts or agreements with Army Corps engineers, who also does a lot of that work for us. So the small business specialist, and if she provides that, Shakia provides it, is who is like the first line of defense of who you should see first if you're interested in FEMA. You say, okay, I'm interested in FEMA. There's a gentleman there named Danny Keegan. It's Robert Danny Keegan. And Danny is, not only is he a great small business specialist, but he's also from the program side of FEMA. So he has that inside understanding of how FEMA programs work, as well as, being a small business advocate. I'm just on a call with him today. And we have several of those across across DHS. So, some things get a little more technical than others, but, it all depends. And so these individuals are here to help you all. I do want to talk about a couple other things real quick that you also need to be aware of. A lot of, SBA is probably your best friend if you're a new business or if you're a mature business and you kind of know some of these things I'm talking about. So, I just want to make sure we're talking to everyone the same so I can get a little bit out of it. But SBA also has programs like the Small Business Development Centers. And those are small. They help out not just federal, if you want to be in federal space, but they also help if, I just want to start a business selling flowers. Should I really be doing that? They can help out with that kind of information. Women business centers. They have centers just for women. Veterans business centers. SBA has this information. There's also something that DoD sponsors called the PTAC, which is the Procurement Technical Acquisition Centers. And they are usually located where there are colleges, and they're funded by the Department of Defense. And they help you with like the ABCs of contracting. If you're a mature company, they kind of, can help you with, various aspects of your, proposal. They might even read it for you, I think. Or give you some suggestions about, this sounds like 10 people wrote it. Maybe you need to go back and have one voice to this, not being judgmental, but just giving their feedback. And they're all across the country. And so they have things called PTAC counselors. And what they do is, you make an appointment with them and I'm sure, I don't know if they're back in person now, but virtually. And they'll kind of walk you through, well, you want to be a federal contractor, do you? Let's see where you are and what resources we can provide. And it's free. So there are a lot of things out here that are free. That's the other thing I want to stress. Oftentimes people need help with bid and proposal or certain things. We get that. But the information you don't have to pay for. Okay. So, if you're just one of those people who you just go, I don't have time to figure it out. I need to sit down and pay somebody to tell me exactly the things I'm telling you. Then you might, able to do that. But never think, and especially like sometimes with FEMA, Hamza may have seen this, where a lot of companies charge for FEMA information. It's just kind of weird to me. I don't understand why. Yes. But if, it's not, no, you don't have to do that. So anyone listening, if you want the information, if it's not on a website, it's a small business specialist at that component or any other agency. They're all throughout other federal agencies who have small business offices. DOD, they have hundreds of them, thousands maybe. Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Agriculture. Everybody has the same, maybe not as large as my office, NASA. I know you all have Richard Mann on here. He may have talked about, I know he talked about what NASA does. But so you just got to kind of know where to go first, or go out and say, okay, this makes sense. You need to know, okay, hey, well, I know all that, right? I'm trying to figure out how can I get to what I can bid on, right? So it all depends. Depends on what you do. Depends on what certifications you might be available to be able to be certified. We talked about HubZone. That's a certification that SBA does, which is location based.
And I dropped all of those in the chat too. So all of the programs.
Okay. The 8A program, right. That's person based. So if you have all that in there, they can go and do the research and understand that we do their set aside programs, and there's programs to do. You can also bid on any unrestricted procurement, which means you can bid like anybody else can. It's not a set aside. So if you have that, it's some reading they need to do, but it's not difficult. But again, I just want to stress, don't pay. Go to that agency or a small business specialist or one of these PTACs or SBA and ask the question. And it do not have to be charged for information.
Just like this podcast is free, right? Information is being spread. But Darlene, because we're coming up on time, I want to ask this important question that most people want to know, and most of our guests have asked, right? So we're in this space as small business owners. We really want to be strategic on how we market to our client, right? And so I think that's one of the most important questions. If they want to do business with Department of Homeland Security, can you give us 3 top things that they can do? Like 1, 2, 3, here's the things you can do that will help them, make their business a the Department of Homeland Security.
What I'll say is do your research. Because just like I mentioned, if you are selling something to me that I cannot buy, I have no interest in that. That doesn't support our mission. Not that I don't have interest in you. As a company, you're a great person. That's not something that we do. So you need to be, aware of what does this company do? Agency. So like usaspending.gov, sam.gov. Go in there and see, well, what does DHS buy? What do they buy on a regular? DHS has a forecast. The APFS, if you just put APFS, DHS, APFS, we have a forecast. That'll show you what DHS buys or plan to buy across all of the components. So you have to do your research. You have to be ready.
You said APFS?
APFS. And you can search APFS. I think it's apfs.cloud.dhs.gov. These websites I get. But if you Google APFS DHS, it'll come up. It should say apfs.cloud.
Got it. Okay.
You have to be ready. This is prime time, right? So before you come to DHS, imagine though, this is prime time. And the many missions that I just spoke about, many of them, our total mission is making sure that we protect the homeland and the people in it. So if you're not prime time, you are doing a disservice to not just me, you, and the rest of the world and country if you come with some foolishness. And I'll just say that, right? You got to be ready. You got to be ready. How do you get ready? A lot of things I just talked about, right? A lot of talking to other small businesses, maybe being a subcontractor to a larger company, try to get, I can learn from them. Maybe being in some kind of mentor protege program with them. How can I learn from them? A lot of times we know the small business probably wasn't doing a lot of the work, but there is some benefit to having a larger business who can, help with paying the bills, as well as teaching you how business should be ran. Or what you should be doing. So that too, and I think be persistent. That doesn't mean bugging somebody every 5 minutes. I'm gonna tell you that, because we got a lot of people, a lot going on. But like every quarter, hey, reach out to the small businesses. Be persistent about what you want to know. Right? Persistent doesn't just mean calling me every minute, right? Because I'm probably not gonna talk to you. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You email me. I just got so much to do. I have people that help do that. And so we have this, so it depends on what it is. So, but I answer emails all the time. But you have to be persistent in your business. So you have to be persistent in not just meeting people and talking to them. But it's a little different than being ready. I'm going to continue knowledge. I'm going to continue trying to figure this thing out.
Competent.
Be competent or willing to learn and be competent. And, not thinking that, okay, they're just going to hand me a contract. That's not how it works. And so that I think learning is great. I think when I talked about associations, make sure you attend or be part of these associations. Things are virtual now, right? So it doesn't cost you money. Some things are opening back up. To go sit on a virtual panel, learn about what are they doing here. And that's also how you connect with other companies is, they may have seen you there or see the name and they go, and sometimes it's relationships. Oh, my cousin works there, or I used to work with that person at a different agency. I know that name, or I know they worked at another company. So it's all about, relationships too. So the persistence is really in different ways, not just a contact way. Just don't contact somebody every day. You got to be persistent in your business. So those are probably the 3 takeaways I have.
Got it. And then I would say in terms of opportunities, so we know about the different purchasing vehicles, right? And I know we have a few minutes.
Some of them, some of them. It's a lot. There's a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. And I think that's one of the biggest things too. It's so many different purchasing vehicles that sometimes you don't realize them, but we have small micro businesses who are interested in understanding how do they access micro purchases. So smaller dollar value items, how do they do outreach to become one of those vendors?
I'll tell you that's hard. I'm not going to sit and say it's not, because the system as it's based it's different at different organizations. I'll tell you this. The micro purchase threshold is $10,000 and below. So who is buying things for $9,000 and $8,000? People with purchase cards.
Yes.
Right. So what you need to do is find out who has the purchase cards, all up in particular components. So there are a lot of ways to find that out. I used to work for the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, right?
Yep, aid.
And this gentleman used to FOIA the FOIAs. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
So people have FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests.
Mm-hmm.
He would FOIA every FOIA. So he wanted to know who asked anything about anything. Have you ever heard of that? He did. He would FOIA the FOIAs. I'm like, there are fees to that, and you would figure out. He would say if he wanted to pay for that or not. So imagine, and I don't want anybody doing this now. Don't but imagine how many FOIA requests. Now those are Freedom of Information Act requests, people that are right here that, if the government gets that, they're supposed to respond, and they don't have to tell you everything, because some things are redacted, some things are just not for public information. But if you say, I'd like to know who the last contractor was for the last 10 times this was awarded, you can get that information. Now, Can you get a copy of their proposal? Probably not, but you can get maybe some redaction. But he would FOIA everyone who asked that question. I'd never seen that before. And there are fees to that. So I don't think it's free, but there are fees to the time it takes. I'll tell you, there are fees to the time it takes, depending on the grade of the person getting the information. And when they used to print out an answer, looking at the copy. So there's a time piece that's associated, but I'll say it's a great tool to try to find information that you just can't seem to find where it's at. We're a little different now because we have SAM.gov, we have these electronic systems and databases that you can pretty much find almost anything you might need to know about a certain procurement. It's not that hard to do. Did I answer all that question, Chrisley? I've talked so much, I might have answered the question.
You gave away nothing but valuable information to the people.
Okay, I want to make sure I was talking a lot about that, but I just want to make sure that I covered that.
You did. And you know what? I'm gonna let Hamza, why don't you I think we're trying to figure out one big thing, Shakia, if you want to talk about it. Are there any questions in the chat, or?
Oh, yes. Is anyone on the chat right now? I'm trying to drop these links in here. If y'all can pop up the chat.
Well, I would say, well, before we go on the chat, because I know time is coming.
Okay.
I would say, Darlene, where can they get in contact with you?
So Shakira probably just dropped that too, but we have OSDBU has my OSDBU main office has a general email box, which is DHS-OSDBU at hq.dhs.gov. So if you have a general question about anything that I've spoken about today, and just say that you want a podcast today, or if anyone sees us in the future, they can always email that inbox and find out. Now, like we said before, and Shakia posted, the small business specialist, their information for every component we spoke about today, their information is also on our website. So if you go to dhs.gov, there's a certain click, doing business with DHS, you can find out some more information about our vendor outreach sessions that we have 10 times a year. And 4 of those are targeted to socioeconomic groups, women, service disabled, 8A, small disadvantaged business, and hub zone. We do 4 specifically for those groups. The other 6 are open to any type of small business that can attend. So dhs.gov is where you can find a lot of information about DHS, and to contact us and contact the small business specialists.
Someone asked, where do they find the purchase card holders in the?
Well, you can either, like when you talk on FOIA, the answers, or just ask. Who in your now they're gonna give you the credit card numbers now. They might not even give you a whole lot of other things. So they may say, and I'll give you a good example. U.S. Coast Guard. They're all across this country, everywhere, the buying activities. I couldn't tell you who has purchase cards there because it's not run out of the procurement office. It's run out of the chief financial officer at DHS. Every agency does something similar or different where the purchase card program lies. And so it's the CFO. So you may say, you know what, I'd like a list of who the purchase card holders are for the U.S. Coast Guard. If the U.S. Coast Guard is not giving you that information, they may come back and say that's information we won't give away. I don't know the answer to that. And then to help you too with that, it could be the small business specialist because they sit in those components. They don't sit with me. I have an office of 10, including me. And then I have those individuals at each component who actually sit with the COs, they actually sit with the program people, et cetera. So they may say, oh yeah, we do know, we do have a list because we get this question often. Here's a list of the purchase card holders. I'm not sure how they handle that because I don't get into that, the specifics of the P card because under $10,000 is, micro purchase, and those are not set aside strictly for small businesses. You can go kind of anywhere when you're using the P card. There are other things that you have to consider too, but that's how that works for micro purchases. Then you have the 10,000 to 250. 250 is a simplified acquisition threshold. And all of those purchases are reserved for small businesses. That's another group that you don't see. Where are those at, right? Because those are often not advertised. Usually they're done under some vehicle, and those are usually done by a contracting officer. So then you get into, if you're interested in customs, well, hey, customs, how do you all advertise your 10 to 250? SAM.gov. Everything over 25,000 has to be on SAM.gov. So there are different pieces that you got to learn how it all works. So SAM.gov is the government portal for information, data, and also issuing requests for information that I didn't talk about, but you all need to respond to if you see them and you're available. That's how set-asides happen. Mm-hmm. And that's where government, procurements are posted is on SAM.gov. You cannot do business with the government if you're not registered in SAM. So go in SAM if you're not, and you probably are if you're into this podcast and already a government person who's aware of government, how government works, procurement works. So that's where 25 and over is posted. But then you got the little thing, what about this and this amount? It's best to talk to the small business specialist at the components.
So the key, I want to touch on this because we got viewers on here. He was talking about solicitations and responding back to RFIs, RFQs. That's into sam.gov. And the reason why it's posted on those sites is because it's probably has exceeded a certain threshold. That's why it's posted. So just in contracting itself, it's more than just submitting bids and responding back to RFIs and proposals about relationships and the network, because you can get opportunities and use certain vehicles to where that you're getting sole source contracts or getting awarded through a simplified acquisition procedure of that nature. I just want to put emphasis on that because not everything the government buys goes out for bid. That makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they also use reverse auction. Some agencies use a reverse auction tool.
Yeah, Unison Marketplace.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or Unison Global.
Is there another one? Oh, can y'all hear me?
No, what'd you say?
Is there another one? Because I know we said Unison Marketplace, but is there another one that some of the other agencies within DHS are using?
Yeah, we've used Unison, I believe. I don't think they used to be called something else. My mind is, I'm not remembering.
Fed Connect or something
like that. Fedbid. And so, Unison. So that's who we have, I believe, a BPA or contract with. I'm not aware of any other reverse auction. There are probably some, but I don't know if they have the same abilities or, use that we use Unison for, not sure.
Okay, and then we had another question in the chat, and I went past it. But someone was asking about, there was a forecast. Someone was asking about trends. So what are the trends or needs to become, what trends or needs do you have outside of IT? What needs do you have outside of IT, guard services, and project management services?
Well, that's why they need to check the forecast, because the forecast will tell you what those needs are. It's just so many. We have, if you know your next code, you can go in the forecast and search by your next code. So you can it'll also send you notifications when anything with your next code pops up. So it's a lot of different things. I mean, it could be anything from, I don't know. It's hard for me to just say certain things. I mean, we buy ships. We do. Just think about everything that goes into operating any agency or just your own regular office, from pins to, we buy helicopters, dog food, we buy reporting, everything. And so that's why now in the planning tool, it's only everything over 250,000. So that 250, so if you're looking for something that's 25, 30, 40, either it's posted on SAM or, like Hamza said, it may be being procured a different way. 8A program, those are direct awards and they don't have to be competed, and you may not see those. So that's why you have to try, some of these things I talk about, learning what these and on the websites, kind of learning what these terms mean. And so we just buy a little bit of everything. The best way is to look in our forecast. We have one of the probably best forecasts in the federal government.
I don't know now. GSA giving y'all some competition with that.
Now, and I'm getting let me highlight that, Shakia. I'm glad you brought that up. They copied our forecast. I love GSA.
Sorry.
Our forecast was first, and they took that and have created. If you look at them, they look similar. I'll say, how about that? But they're trying to make that every agency is supposed to have a forecast and have it not in a spreadsheet, but in some database. And they are, they have other agencies that are using, I think, labor, a few others, but DHS was first. And they took that, they'll tell you that. We've had that forecast for a number of years, that format. They've just started making it into useful for other agencies. So that's our footprint.
Now here's a question. Will there be a forecast, a collaborative forecast with all of the agencies. Because like right now, I can go to acquisition.gov, grab the list of all of the links to where to find the agency forecast. But will there be a collaborative forecast with all of these?
I think that's what GSA is trying to get to. Even if they're not collaborative by, that's a lot of data. And I'm sure some way to maybe sort it, maybe having it collaborative is everyone is using this template that DHS did start, I'll say. However, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if some agencies just may, I like mine separate, or I unless it's mandated to do, which is not yet. Yeah, I see your point is that it makes a lot of sense, but it's also a lot of sense to kind of have it separate. I mean, or together but separate. You know what I mean? Okay. But there's no mandate for it. But it's not a bad idea. But some of them still have to get on the board they're still doing like Excel spreadsheets. And sometimes it's hard to get that data from some of the offices about, what is it you plan on buying? And so they do a pretty good job at it, and they're working on it, on doing it. But we have a whole system in place of how we, do what we do at Homeland.
Yeah, because definitely a lot of them are still like the Excel spreadsheet. So
Absolutely.
But they're working at it. They're trying. They're working, and GSA is going to be a help because they don't have to build it themselves like we built APFS. They can just use that system, but then you have a lot of things in play that, how do you get the information over there? We want this kind of capability. I don't know, because, we kind of we do what we do, and we have this vehicle that we use, but, I think it's a good idea if you're still using spreadsheets. Hey, let me see what GSA is offering.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Hamza, did you have another question?
No, I didn't have a question. I was just over here writing down some notes. It's just ton of valuable information.
Good.
Now, another component that I wanted to, I have a lot of questions as well, as you may see, but the preferred vendors list is DHS, or does DHS manage their own preferred vendors list, or do you focus primarily on the businesses that are in SAM.gov? Well, the businesses that are in SAM, or do you also have a preferred vendors list?
We don't have preferred vendors list like probably you're thinking about. I'll say some of the components like FEMA, and I know CBP used to do this. I'm pretty sure they probably do. They do have, I wouldn't liken it to interested vendors list, but they do take information and put in databases about vendors who can do what it is that they do. Like FEMA is like a specialty, and they have these vendor days where they used to do this, vendor days where they'll invite in, and maybe they do it virtually now, vendors that have that particular NAICS code of what it is that they may be seeking. So some do that. I think CBP used to do that. I'm not sure if they do. But usually we rely, and then you have qualified products lists. So that's a little different than, those are vendors whose item has passed muster, and, those are vehicles that we have to use or must use because of the quality is required. But we mostly work on competition and database. We don't have any issue with finding companies. So when we post things in SAM, when we post things in SAM, or we have events like this, especially like our vendor outreach sessions, the spaces are gone in minutes. So the interest is there. We just have to get it from interest to, how do you turn that interest in actually, becoming a vendor for the department. So we don't have separate lists. When we have an industry days or something like that, vendors can sign up to say, I'm interested in this procurement, and you see the names, and but it has no bearing on who can win or any. We have no preferred list. The dynamic small business search, we use that tool. That's an SBA tool that shows all the certifications of all small businesses. And if you're a small business, not SAM, indicates, NAICS codes of companies and if they're small. So we don't have those type of lists. We're just too huge to have some kind of preferred list. There's really no such thing for us. So we just, wait for the competition and the questions and responses to RFIs, responses to draft RFPs that post in SAM to the world to just kind of, for them to give us feedback. But we don't really have a lack of people wanting to be part of the department procurements.
Got it. Okay. Because I know we've gotten that like a few times. Sometimes agencies are having issues when it comes down to participation, whether it's from a certain small business background or socioeconomic status. So that's what I was asking about that. And I know previously.
Yeah, well, why you say that?
Second.
Yeah, so when you say that, let me add another piece to that though. When we say that companies, let's say an agency, like you just said, they're having trouble. Part of the problem, an issue, and this is, I have to tell this to everyone, is that when you don't respond to RFIs, requests for information, or sources sought notices, when you don't, that eliminates really if they'll do a set aside or not. You have to have that data to determine if it's something called a rule of two. It's a term of use. It's not a term in the FAR. The process is in the FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulation, but not that term, right? And so to be able to issue set-asides, socioeconomic or just regular small business, you have to be able to meet the rule of two, and have confidence that small businesses are able to do, are able to do what you want done at a reasonable price and, being able to set it aside. But I'll tell you, if you don't respond, if you don't tell your friend to respond or the company who's your competition to respond, and they're also maybe just like you, small business or a woman-owned company. And if you don't do that, we can compete later, right? What I need now is for you to come in here and say that we all could do this work and to convince them with our response that we can make it some sort of set aside, because they will not do that with their market research if the responses don't come. I can't create something that's not there, I can't make them say, oh, well, because you have a whole process where these things come to me when they want to do unrestricted procurement, meaning it's not a set aside. And then I'll go, well, what market research did you do? Oh, we did this. We posted it on SAM. We got one small business responded. Well, how's that? Did anyone see it? That one small business should have told his competitor, should have told so-and-so, should have told 10 people.
To respond, absolutely.
To respond and that is crucial to make
so
it
y'all
sure.
Hear that? She just dropped some real game. And me and some friends do this as well. If you see an opportunity, there is a rule of two. I'll hit them up and say, hey, you seen this? Can you respond to this? Can you do this? Can you respond to this? Boom. Now it's us. So it's just us. And that opportunity is now set aside. Somebody just asked for us about us. And so I'll let you go because somebody just asked another question. I'll let you answer the other question for her.
They asked what? I'm fine. They asked what was the question?
Oh, this question is about, I know Hamza was going to add something to that point.
No,
okay.
Oh, no. Someone asked about unsolicited proposals. So how are unsolicited proposals funded and how to submit one?
Well, if you go on our website, and Shakir, you can find, if you put in unsolicited proposals, it'll show you it'll explain the process. Now, the process is also in the Federal Acquisition Regulation. What is that? The FAR. It talks about the process. But one key takeaway is, it's got to be a good idea. It's got to be an original idea. Yeah, you cannot say, or it can be a unique idea on something that exists already. Mm-hmm. So it has to pass the test. Now, is it automatically funded? No. Because what happens is they'll look at it and go, oh, this is a great idea, or this, we already doing this. Sometimes people think that they're up on innovation, but we did that last year. It's a company already just talking about, we're already getting ready to, I don't mean to sound that way, But like technology, some people may think they've got something great. Homeland might have already been down that road already, or have something similar to the technology, and then just are not, or maybe or in the process of buying it already, or just does not work for our department. And so what they do is they review the unsolicited proposals. They may reach out to the company and go, oh, wow, never heard of this before. Or they may say, no, this just doesn't meet the standards of being unique information. And, make sure you don't put any family secrets in these documents, because they do pass a lot of hands. But there is a process. And, it just depends on the idea. But the idea has to be a great and unique idea. It just can't be something that, you're reselling someone's product. Okay. Well, everybody can do that. You created something, and that takes us maybe to the SBIR program, is a Small Business Innovation Research Program. A lot of times you'll hear SBIR and STTR together. DHS does not have an STTR program, but we have an SBIR program, which is run out of our Science and Technology Division. And so if you put that, Shakia, in about an SBIR program, they can look at that. There are 3 levels of SBIR, with the last one being your product being commercialized. But DHS does put out these broad agency announcements for white papers on topics that we are looking for. And so we're looking for someone to turn the wind purple, right? And you got to come back and I can make the wind turn purple. I've done it before. I do it in my garage all the time. So you could respond to that. An unsolicited proposal will be more of, I have this great idea and this process and this item I've created. I'd like someone to talk to me about it. The SBIR is really a solution to a problem that we have
currently existing,
that we have asked about. It's not really, okay, I have this thing, fund me. It's more of, you have this thing I asked about, can you fund me? And here's my white paper about it. And then they do a whole analysis about that. But if you put SBIR in, DHS SBI program, they have their own website. They have their own actual small business specialist. Dusty Lang is the program manager for the DHS SBIR program. She's very, very good at what she does and can provide a lot of good information if you're interested in research and development.
And then can't one more question is while we're talking about innovation, there's a Procurement Innovation Lab.
The PIL.
What is the difference between the PIL and the SBIR program?
They're 2 totally different things. SBIR is innovation. Procurement Innovation Lab is how do you buy those things quicker through innovating the procurement process. Not okay. 2 different things. So the PIL has their own, you can look up the PIL. So they are more contract specialists, contracting officers, program people. How can I award something faster? Do I, unsolicited proposal, not unsolicited proposal, but oral proposals. Okay. Consensus right together. Like we sit and look at these proposals and come to a consensus. There used to be processes where you look at it and you look at it and we come together. So they kind of help innovation where it makes sense in the procurement process, which the thought is that it also will help small businesses compete more. But it also, we got to make sure we're not putting expectations on small businesses that'll make them try to respond faster and they have limited resources. You know what I mean? So, I might make Hamza or Christy create a video, but do I really have that ability to do that in a week? As a small business. So you have to look at, they do look at, what kind of makes sense. We want to move this procurement faster, but we also want to be fair and equitable and how we do that and not making sure companies with limited sources in that area to do it so quickly. Large businesses have a whole shop in their house, their office to do many things. I mean, just because my video is from the house doesn't mean it might be in substance different than yours. So it's a lot of things that they look at, but their duty is to, try to come up with innovative ways to do procurements. SBIR is a totally different. They're solution based, and those products can or potentially become commercialized, where they're bought by everyone, all of us sitting here, and by other agencies. So it's a difference. It's not the same at all, right?
Thank you for that clarification. So I will be reaching out to Phil as well. But definitely, this has been such a good episode. Like, it's so crazy that we were supposed to close out, but we are still going. People are still dropping questions in the chat. We still got 50 active people listening right now. So it's been very engaging. But I think at this point now, we're going to close it out. Did you have any last words that you would share with small businesses in this space who are trying to do business with DHS?
I will say, I talked about those 3 areas, concentration. I'll say, don't stop, be focused. One of the things we are looking at is new entrants into the space. Over the last few years, there has been a decrease in our vendor base. So we recognize that as, a supply chain issue, which can turn into security issues. And, we kind of saw that with COVID, how we didn't even have enough masks. It's just something that we just didn't think about. And how do you get it? You're paying $20 for something that probably costs 80 cents, Exactly. So those are the things that, we have to be aware of. I would say check SBA's website, if you are, can be one of those designations, hub zone, women owned, and they're women owned certifications you have to go through. You can read it on SBA's website. Make sure that you are everything that you are allowed to be, so that means that you can compete in these different pools. If you're not a women owned company, you can't compete as a women owned company. Exactly. But if you know that you can be, hey, I need to start that certification process to see how do I, do that. Making sure you're checking all the forecasts, making sure you know about an agency, don't come and are not aware of what Homeland Security does. I'm going to look at you like, do you have the internet at home? I mean, so it's a waste of my time and yours. You should know. You don't have to know everything about it. No, indeed. But you should know, Secret Service is a part of Homeland. Coast Guard is a part of Homeland Security. What does Homeland Security do? Yeah. That's part of doing
knocking on the right door.
Right. Yeah. So, and then you just have to put the work in. Well, we understand how daunting it can be. I do. And it can be overwhelming. I mean, that's just the truth of, you have a company, agency spending $20-some billion. You have DOD, they spend $330 billion a year. How do you get into that space? And I think we're making more outreach roads to outreach, not just the OSDBU, what we've been doing, it's our mission, but a lot of the program offices, starting to realize, I do have to, and a lot of them are small business friendly. I'm not going to say that, but they're getting into the president's agenda, like the secretary's agenda at Homeland is, small businesses should be maximized, and trying to figure out a way to do it. So, just some words, I would take a look at a lot of the links that you put in, going back to things are free. Information is free. Information is power. And so if you're knowledgeable about what it is that you want to do and what you're doing, and ask the questions, we're here to help. Our office, most small business offices across the federal space. So, you just have to let us know what questions you have, and we'll try to help. But I thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. I know it will be a good session. I could talk a lot. And I'm just passionate about the subject, and it's just a lot of information, and it's just, I need to have like a 4-hour podcast. I do these all the time, a lot, but just like break it up in different groups, sessions, and talk about different things.
Important. This type of dialogue, conversation, interviews are important to small businesses, because there's always so much people that can get from going to SBA sites, or it's where you can get inside information, when you get information from people that are on the executive agency side that are telling you what it looks like on this side and what our expectations are. That is very important for small businesses entering government contracting. I say that because when I got into government contract, I didn't have someone hold my hand. I didn't have somebody walk me through teach me how to fill out a SF 1449 properly, how to respond back to proposals correctly. I had to bump my head on the wall. I had to, lose money on contracts, break even on contracts, even talk myself out of contract termination because of fire I didn't know how to properly put out. And for people that's new to this, and most of the people that's tuning in and is in our follower are new to contracting, because it's no mainstream media that's displayed out within contracting, period. During the whole thing with COVID, Corona, not one time did any media put emphasis on government spent over $1.3 trillion in the first 3 months of the coronavirus with contractors. It was more SBA loans, PPP loans, unemployment assistance, and stuff like that. And I think that it needs to be highlighted how businesses can really start and scale their business tremendously by contracting, with the government of their services and products.
Sure, there's a lot out here. There's a lot out here, a lot of information, and just their DHS questions, just send them to that email address, and we'll answer you back. But I appreciate it. I like being on these kind of events, and I'm a big question answer. Not a big. I am a big talker. I'm not even gonna lie about that. But I like the questions. I do like questions. So when people have questions, I mean, that's how other people. That's how they relate. They might have had this burning question for a whole 6 months, and didn't know who to talk to and answer. But I'm really big on the question and answer.
Yeah.
So we can turn that into our own little segment. It ain't got to be the podcast. It's gonna be questions with Darlene.
Right, questions.
Y'all tune in.
I appreciate I actually taking time out, out of your schedule to join us on our podcast and give out this information to the viewers. Is as I am one of the co-hosts, I'm still like a student all the time, and I'm over here writing down notes, writing those links down, writing down those key points, because you can never not know enough. Information is wealth, and the more you inform, the more you're gonna earn. So I appreciate you. I commend you on your journey and what you have done for small businesses and for government agencies. And I truly appreciate you, Ms. Darlene.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
And the way people hyping you up in these comments, I ain't gonna tell you.
Wait a minute, I can't see what they're saying. Hey, everybody.
We gotta go.
Wait, where is this at? Hold on, wait a minute. Where can I see this at? Because I'm through the Zoom. Wait a minute, y'all. Keep on hyping it up.
They talking about this been the best episode. I said, okay.
Hey, look, hey everybody. I told them that. I told you that before. And so look, I said, I'm on YouTube. I said, let me get myself together here, But most people who see me, they know that's the normal me. Because I have to represent. I'm representing for all of us, in not just looks. That's one thing, but the knowledge and the passion to make sure. That, you can't hide that, right? I just do. I want everyone to be successful. I want everyone on this chat to be successful. Do what you're supposed to do. To be successful in support of whatever agency or whatever you do. Could be you want the best hair salon, you want the best a club you want to open up, best restaurant. Small business is not just working for the government, even though that's what I'm representing. But just like SBA supports all of those efforts, and so if it's something that you want to do, just keep at it. I know sometimes it can get a little daunting, and especially these COVID times, it can be a little down. But the small business spending at DHS has not ended. Actually, it was a triumph year last year. And so, we just want to keep making sure that we do that. And we will. This will be a good year this year, too.
It definitely will. Well, we're going to.
So Shakia, send me that link so I can see everybody. Hey, everybody, keep hyping me up. Y'all want me to come back? You got to hype it up. Hype me up some more. You want me to come back. Hype me in the department.
She's gonna come back. Don't worry. They talking about you killed Miss Darlene. But
I'll get some of my colleagues, like we talked about. There are a lot of us in the this space who are very passionate about small business. So I'll welcome coming back. So I appreciate you all having me. And
absolutely, y'all make sure y'all like, comment if there are any questions that you have. Again, she gave out the email address to the OSDBU. If y'all have questions, email them, ask them questions. make sure you are utilizing these tools so that you know that you are knocking on the right door, like we said earlier. And tune in next week. We have updates about our upcoming tour for the podcast. So we have updates coming up. So tune in next week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Again, I'm here signing out.
And I'm Hamza Sabri.
I'm Darlene. Right, Chrisley? Kristen changed clothes and everything. Wait, Kristen changed her clothes and took the scarf off.
I had to take my scarf off because it was warm. I had a call and I was like, I got to take this call, but I can't sign off. So
that is funny.
That's
funny. Now, y'all have been great. I appreciate you having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Talk to you soon. All right.
All right, y'all. Ending it now. So we are done. I have